All right, let's talk about some sleepers or quote unquote sleepers. I know you don't like that word much. Why don't you like the word sleepers, Julio? Talk to me, bro.
No, it's just cliche.
Cliche?
Just cliche. Just everyone else use it. But we're talking about sleeper teams, right? That's what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. This video is about
Yeah,
sleeper teams.
obviously, it's a word that everyone else uses in the sports world. So I guess we can use it. I'm just thinking about just let's say under talked about teams, under talked about players. Obviously there's underrated. You heard that word too. Less hype is another one. Teams that we haven't heard too much hype on. You got your usuals, right? You got the big time Super Bowl winners that dominate mainstream media: Cowboys, Pittsburgh, Green
Bucks.
Bay, Kansas City. Obviously, now that Tom Brady's with the Bucks. Before that they weren't one of those teams. Obviously, now that Brady's there, well, they're dominating the headlines. And honestly, like that's all you see now, right? Like every prognosticator has Bucks and Chiefs repeating, or like getting at least back to the Super Bowl, and then obviously only one of them could win. So some people got the Bucks repeating, some people got the Chiefs, getting their revenge. And so at that point, I don't know if I've heard much about, like you said, those sleeper teams or those under talked about teams.
Yeah, I haven't heard them at all. Look, on my drive to work every single day, I'm constantly putting these, FS1 videos or ESPN videos. Why? Because they pop up on my feed on YouTube, right? And I'll click one of those, and you're right. It's all about the Cowboys. It's all about the Bucks, and it's all the same thing too. Like, do you think TB12 can repeat? Do you think Patrick Mahomes and do you see another rematch in there? It's just kind of, it gets boring. It's very repetitive. Every single day they have to bring that up. Or, what are the top 5 things, that the Cowboys have that, can make them a Super Bowl contender? Like, I don't care about those things. I'm sure a lot of people don't. I mean, a lot of people do because they have really good fan bases. But what I meant to say is there's a lot of fanatics like us, right? That root for the teams, like the Titans, the Cardinals, the Falcons, the Chargers, that don't really get the recognition nationally like all these other teams, and yeah, actually this video is going to be about that. We're going to talk about those teams that are sleepers that nobody really talks about in mainstream media, and see what they can do, or see who has a chance at getting that chip and dethroning the Bucks. So let's start in an NFC. What do you think? Any teams out there that stick out to you in the NFC that might make some noise this year?
The one thing I do have to say, which I hate, I hate agreeing with mainstream media, and that.
Right.
The problem is with the decreased salary cap this year going down to 184 million.
Mm-hmm.
The teams, in order to build up their depth, it's been very difficult, right? And that's where I see, like, okay, I can see, like, for instance, you look at the Bucks roster top to bottom, and it's strong. I mean, I hate it. I mean, I'm obviously a Falcons fan, as you can see. Mm-hmm. Bucks are in my division. Obviously, I'm not a Tom Brady fan. Not saying that he's not good, but I'm just not a fan of his. And so you look at the Bucks roster, and you're like, I mean, honestly, as a Falcons fan, from top to bottom, we can't compete with that roster. Hopefully, the new coaching changes kick in. New coaching changes kick in with Arthur Smith and Dean Pease running the defense. I'm hoping for good things, but honestly, from when it comes to a talent and roster standpoint, I mean, Bucks are at the top. No question. Mm-hmm. There's no question about it. Other teams that can be sleeper, I mean, you have teams like the Washington football team, right? Great. Looks like they're going to have a great defense. Mm-hmm. They upgraded the secondary with William Jackson. They brought in Bobby McCain from the Dolphins. They still have, obviously, returning Kendall Fuller. You got Landon Collins, Cameron Curl. They're moving Troy Apke around to the corner and safety. They brought in Jamin Davis in a first round out of Kentucky to play linebacker. Team is talented. Not only that, they got weapons on offense. But then what do you have? You have questions at quarterback, right? Mm-hmm. Can Ryan Fitzpatrick, be more Fitzmagic than Fitztragic, as they like to say, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then, would Antonio Gibson take that next step? The offensive line is pretty solid, but they got question marks at left tackle. You have issues like that where, maybe a team like the Bucks they don't have, you know? So you got that. Then the same thing, the Giants. I think the Giants have built a very solid defense, right? But we got to see Daniel Jones. You know, can Daniel Jones take that next step under the my man Jason Garrett's offense, right? Sorry, his name slipped my mind for a second. Jason Garrett's offense and the offensive line.
Offensive line more than anything.
They had to make a few moves just last week doing roster cutdowns. You know what I mean? Just to try to. They got Billy Price from the Bengals. They picked up. There was another guy they picked up. His name is slipping my mind right now. But you know, the Giants were making moves at the roster cutdown, trying to solidify their offensive line. And you got to see Daniel Jones makes that next step. You know, he gets Saquon back. They drafted Kadarius Toney. They signed Kenny Galladay. You know, hopefully Evan Ingram can learn how to run that wide stick in the Jason Garrett offense.
Yeah, that'll be big.
And we'll see where they go. You know, that's a big time route in the Jason Garrett offense, as we know. Jason Witten perfected it, and the way he even explained it in his retirement speech was beautiful. But yeah, we got those question marks, you know, and those are really solid built teams that you look at the way they're drafted and the way they attack free agency. You got to say, like, man, this roster's pretty good, but we have major question marks at very important positions with those teams, right? And then the Cowboys, as much as we don't want to talk about them, man, no pun intended. Loaded. Yeah, no, exactly. No pun intended. They're star powered, right? They're just they have a star-studded offense from top to bottom. Obviously, the defense is not there yet, but if Micah Parsons becomes what everybody thinks he can become, if Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith go back to the previous form from 2017, 2018, now we got a formidable at least front seven for the Cowboys. Secondary is a work in progress, but we can tell it looks like Trayvon Diggs is going to take that next step this year. So Cowboys, I mean, obviously, if they stay healthy with that offensive line, that offense, they can score with anyone or outscore anyone. So because of that, we have to put the Cowboys back in there. And even though they're talked about a lot, let's be real. You know, they haven't been in the playoffs for a couple of years. So seeing them in the playoffs it's not gonna bother me too much.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think they'll be a fun team to watch.
Honestly, I think there's a lot of teams in the NFL now that you look at top to bottom and you're like, man, they're just a few pieces away. But even with those few pieces away, they can get by, you know. Another team would be, the Cardinals. The Cardinals, we talked about this earlier. The Cardinals are, added a few pieces, JJ Watt, AJ Green. Now, how much does AJ Green have in the tank? We don't know, but I mean, he seems to be fully motivated. He's ready. And that's just another piece that a defense has to focus on, because that he can still run some decent routes. And Kyler Murray back there, it's just on, and they got the speedster in the draft too. So, that's another good team right there, the Cardinals. And obviously, Chandler Jones wrecking havoc.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely. But the problem is they're in a loaded division, right?
NFC West, yep.
The NFC West is probably the NFC best. Let's just put it out there that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in reality, that is a loaded division. Like one of the teams that I don't ever really hear being talked about is the Seattle Seahawks. And they're gonna be there. Like
sure.
with Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson, like they're gonna be there. I don't like their team top to bottom, but Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll, they're always gonna be there. Does it mean they're gonna make the NFC Championship game of the Super Bowl? No, I'm not going that far. But they'll make it to the playoffs. Obviously, as long as Russell stays healthy, he's just gonna will them there, and so you got that. Obviously, you got the very, very top heavy Rams. What I mean by that, they're star-studded at the top, right? Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, Matthew Stafford, those guys. And then you got your obviously your role players were really good. Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. They drafted Tutu Atwell. Be interested to see how he works in that Sean McVay offense. I'm really, really saddened by the loss of Cam Akers to the season-ending injury. I was a big Cam Akers fan coming out of Florida State.
For sure.
He came on at the end of last year, as you know, when you picked him up in fantasy. and
yeah.
it looks like he was going to be special, and then tears his Achilles. So that really hurt me on that one because I wanted to see what he was going to do in year 2. And then obviously 49ers. I mean, you got what I say the best play caller in the game and play designer in Kyle Shanahan. And so, this 2 quarterback system is usually scary. They usually say if you have 2 quarterbacks, it means you got none.
Right.
But in this case, the way Shanahan can use Trey Lance and just make the defense prepare for both quarterbacks, man, that's going to be tough. And
Really
then you
tough.
still got to worry about that nasty offensive line, nasty defensive line,
The run
and
game.
then that running game, exactly, led by Raheem Mostert and them boys, which is, pretty deep as well. So I honestly think, because when I look at top to bottom with depth, obviously the NFL is a sport of attrition, right? That's why we talk about these deep teams are usually the ones to make it far. Do you have teams that have their star player, and if everything works out, everything goes perfect, no one gets hurt, they have a chance? Yeah, absolutely. But with the NFL, the injury rate is 100%.
Right.
And you're going to get hurt, unfortunately. And so basically it's how you manage those injuries. And also now the new normal is handling the COVID-19 pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously it affected last year big time. Tom Brady went ahead and said that it's probably going to affect more this year than it did last year. And we'll see about that. Obviously I think the vaccination rate in the NFL is 93%, if I'm not mistaken, something like that.
Yeah,
unless it's gotten higher, basically at the time of this recording. So we'll see what that means and what that means for teams. And obviously we pray that everyone stays healthy and their families as well. But we are a sports podcast, so we're talking about sports, and so we want to see how that affects teams, And obviously the deeper teams is why everyone has the Bucs and Chiefs heading back to the Super Bowl, just because they handled the offseason, at least keeping their players and adding players, finagling and manipulating the salary cap to their advantage. Considering that there's some teams that you're just like, you as a Chargers fan, I remember you're like, man, we got $17 million in cap space. What are we doing with that? And then you have teams, like the Bucs and Chiefs that every time we look, they're in the negative, but somehow they're bringing someone else in. And so, yeah, it's one of those funny things that we won't get into conspiracies right now, but we do wonder what the NFL allows to certain teams. Besides, we won't go there, but just to throw that out there for the teams that are not so much talked about, the lesser known teams. I know you guys are probably thinking the same thing on how the higher teams get away with stuff like that, but yeah.
Perfect. And any predictions on the NFC? Let's go down the list. Who you
as
have
like underdog, like a sleeper prediction, or you want to just go with like what I think is going to happen?
Yeah, let's go down the divisions. Who's taking the NFC West, in your opinion?
Me personally, I'm going to go with the 49ers.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the 49ers. Are going to get back there, and I think the 49ers are going to, for the most part, stay healthy this year. And I think the 49ers will take it. I think that's, even if one of those quarterbacks go down, you still have a starting caliber quarterback behind them. Mm-hmm. Only thing that concerns me right now with the 49ers is their secondary, right? They just did add Josh Norman, who's obviously, as long as you're not asking him to play man, you'll be all right. Cover 2, cover 3.
Or tackle a big running back.
Yeah, I mean, who really wants to tackle Derrick Henry, right? But I think, him, obviously Jason Verrett, who's just got outstanding talent. We got to see that last year, but, always has trouble staying healthy. Mm-hmm. 49ers secondary is what worries me. But if that front seven could do what it did 2 years ago, then I think the 49ers are taking it.
Mm-hmm. NFC East, I'm going to take the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys, the Cowboys stay healthy enough to really make a run and make some noise in that division. Yeah, Washington football team is I would rank second, and then 3 and 4 it just gets really tough with the Giants and the Eagles. Anything can happen there within those 2-3 teams, but I think Washington's defense can definitely make a lot of noise and surprise a lot of teams, and honestly make it easier on Fitz magic, Fitzpatrick. So will they pick up Cam Newton maybe throughout the season? Possibly.
It could happen
if he gets hurt or
gets hurt. Yeah, exactly. Because right now Ron Rivera is saying that no, they're good.
Yeah, right now they're saying it's good. And but yeah, I'm taking the Cowboys here. Like you said, so much star power, and if those guys can stay decently healthy, they can make a run there and take that division. Finally.
Yeah, I like I said, I'm hoping for. Zach Martin's out for Thursday's game. Super disappointed about that with COVID, but that offensive line stays healthy. Zeke looks like he lost some weight. He looks more explosive. That's going to be a dangerous team, and they're deep. Like I said, they got weapons galore. Zeke, Tony Pollard, and obviously their receiving core, they're strong. So I got to say, and I think Dan Quinn will come simplify that defense. Hopefully he doesn't keep it too simple. You don't want quarterbacks. You don't want quarterbacks going up against your defense at the line of scrimmage and knowing exactly what you're going to run. It's just, we're in the day and age. You can't have that anymore. Unless you have an elite talent on the defensive side of the ball, which obviously since the 2013 Seahawks, no one has.
Right.
So basically at this point, I don't see it happening in that regard. So hopefully Dan Quinn can mix it up and just do enough to keep that, Dallas offense scoring more than the other team.
For sure. NFC South, bro. NFC South. We already know it's the Bucs.
Yeah, exactly. I don't see anyone. God forbid, unless they get just dismantled by injuries.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can't see anyone taking down the Bucs right now. I'm a big Bruce Arians fan. I'm super happy he won a Super Bowl, honestly. I wasn't happy when he came to Tampa because I really liked him before he came to Tampa when he was with the Steelers and the Colts and then eventually the Cardinals. So when he came to Tampa and came out of retirement, I was a little upset. But I'm glad he got his Super Bowl. He deserves it.
For sure.
I wish it wasn't with Tom. But at this point, hey, I'm happy for the guy. And like I said, barring something crazy happening, Tampa, that defense, that entire team is just too strong.
Right. Talk to us about your Falcons, bro. Since you got the Falcons gear on, what's your expectations for the Falcons?
Just the Falcons. Honestly, best case scenario, Arthur Smith brings back Kyle Shanahan memories. The team stays healthy like it mostly did in 2016. Catch lightning in a bottle. You're asking and you're praying for too much at that point. I can't see that happening. Honestly, I don't want to be a negative Nancy, but honestly, I don't see that happening. Could they sneak into the playoffs with a new seven team? In the playoffs, maybe. Maybe like I said, you never know. The what is it? The NFC East winner last year got in at 7-9 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have a 17th game this year, so there's going to be no 7-9. It's either going to be 7-10 or 8-9 or 9-8, which is super weird.
Very weird.
8-1. Who knows? But at this point, yeah, I as much as I want to be positive, I got to say the Falcons are probably just going to miss the playoffs. Best case scenario, maybe they go 10-7. But I'm looking more of a 6-9. Excuse me, not 6-9 anymore. 6 and what is it? It would be at this point. 6-11.
6-11.
That's terrible. Oh Lord, please don't put me through another season of that. No, Cherie.
Yeah.
I do not want to live through that. But looks like it's going to be anywhere between 6 and 9 wins.
Okay. NFC North.
Gotta go with the last dance.
Mm-hmm.
The last dance. Gotta go with Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, and Aaron Jones.
You really believe it's the last dance?
That was the deal they worked out, right?
I think so. Yeah.
I think the deal they worked out was that Rodgers was going to be able to make a decision at the end of the season to move on or stay. So obviously he loves. Sounds like him and Matt LaFleur are on the same page, but Brighton Gutekunst, that's where I don't know. Well, will they be able to salvage that and fix that relationship? I'm not 100% sure.
Right.
But I think I'm a little concerned about that offensive line right now. Obviously, Bakhtiari still coming back from his late injury last year. They got Elton Jenkins playing left tackle, who's, man, he's proved that he can play any position on the offensive line and play it well.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is that it weakens the rest of the offensive line, right? So now you got a rookie and Chris Myers from Ohio State starting at center. Makes me a little nervous. But the good thing about that system, the Kyle Shanahan, Mike Shanahan, West Coast outside zone system, is that you can run a lot of bootlegs and get the quarterback outside of the pocket so that he doesn't have to sit in the pocket too much.
Take a beating. Yep.
And we know Aaron Rodgers, to me, is the best I've ever seen do it. So so at that point, yeah, I'm going with the Pack.
Okay, so we got Packers, Bucks, Cowboys, 49ers. Any wild card predictions?
Yeah, I mean, wild card predictions, you got to go. I mean, I hate to do it. You're going to have to go with two from the NFC West, right? Like, I mean, and I mean, at this point, is it a pick 'em? Is it the Cardinals, the Seahawks, or the Rams? I'm a little nervous. Like I said, Seahawks are always there. So I'm going to pencil them in. I hate to be there, but so far with Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson, they're always there.
Yeah, they figure it out.
They do. Sometimes I don't know how, but they do. Obviously, Bobby Wagner's getting up there, but he's still playing at a high level. Jamal Adams blitzing off the edge is outstanding. Wasn't great in coverage against wide receivers last year, but he's still good against tight ends. And so I think the Seahawks, man, their cornerback group is scaring me though. I mean, they'll just have to step up. But in that scheme, that's what it's meant to do, right? It's meant to just, hey, I'll let you take the underneath stuff, and we're gonna tackle you when you do. That's the Seattle Seahawks scheme. But you know, it obviously got better as the season went on last year. They did lose KJ Wright, but they have high hopes in Brooks. And so the second-year player out of I think it was Texas A&M, and so Jordan Brooks. And so at that point, I'm thinking,
how about the Vikings,
are
bro?
going to be there.
How about the Vikings?
Rams, yeah, I think the Vikings might be my third team because remember there's 7 teams now.
17, so there's three teams in the wild card.
So I think it's probably going to be. I think the Rams and the Vikings are probably right now sneaking in there. You know, I think Mike Zimmer is going to get that defense, especially with Daniel Hunter back. And then also Anthony Barr. They signed Patrick Peterson. They had to drop Jeff Gladney due to some off-field issues. But I think the Vikings can get back there. Dalvin Cook. I am worried a little bit about their offensive coordinator, which is Kubiak's kid, his son. But I think the Vikings can get back there. And then, like I said, pick them. What do you got? Cardinals or Rams? Who do you think sneaks in there?
I think the Rams will. I
Yeah.
think the Rams, yeah. And they definitely got to upgrade at quarterback. So I really think it's an upgrade. And I think they were just a quarterback away, honestly. And, I mean, Goff was serviceable. But, yeah, Matthew Stafford is a whole lot better than him.
Now, let me ask you something. Let me ask you something about the Rams. Do you think the addition of Stafford basically makes up for the loss of Brandon Staley, Cam Akers, you know, the other offseason additions with the hard salary cap that they ended up losing, you know?
I definitely do.
John Johnson.
I think they do. Look, the defense just needs enough, you know, they don't need to be like, I mean, they're still going to be up there. They're elite, you know? I mean, they did lose a lot of key pieces and the brains of Brandon Staley on defense, but I still think that they get more stops than the usual. And that means just more opportunities for Matthew Stafford in that arm and weapons like Deshaun Jackson, you know, Cooper Kupp and those boys. Yeah, I think they can still make some noise, honestly. And having that arm and having that talent at quarterback with those, you know, addition of those weapons, like now you got Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Deshaun Jackson, you know what I'm saying? Then you have, yeah, it's, you know, and that arm, They might, they still have Henderson, right, at running back, and they, Sony Michel as well. And so that's another compliment there for the Rams in that offense. And I don't know. I think they're better. And also Sean McVay too. Sean McVay, the another mastermind on offense too, calling those plays. I think they can make some noise, honestly. I think more than the Cardinals, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I love McVay. One of the things I really like about McVay is just that he's just so honest, and he's he doesn't see himself as the smartest guy in the room. You know what I mean? Although he could be. They call him the boy genius, the boy wonder. But what I love about it is that he's admitted it before. He says, you know what? I stole that from this guy. I stole that from this coach. I stole that, and he's just honest. He's like, what does that mean to me though? What that tells me is the guy is in the film room, not only watching his team, he's watching every team in the NFL, and he's just picking the plays where he's thinking are going to be most successful. And honestly, I respect that. You know why? Because there's a lot of coaches out there that just, they do what they do. They teach the same thing for years. They don't evolve. You know what I mean? They don't learn, and they're outdated. And so to speak, that's okay. You can throw it back. Look what Bill Belichick did, right? Bill Belichick was one of the ones that he saw that the league was moving too much to 11 personnel. He's like, I'm going back to 12. He goes, all right, I'm gonna draft Robert Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez, and I'm gonna go out there and run 2 tight end sets. 10 years later,
everyone's doing it.
And everybody's starting to do it, but also he does it again. Last year he drafted 2 tight ends in the draft. They didn't really work out. And Devin Asiasi, and the other kid's escaping me right now. But what does he do this year? He goes and
picks up
signs Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. You know what I mean? And he's like, all right, so just in case, everybody starts playing small nickel instead of big nickel, well, I got matchup advantages here. I could run out of this formation. I could pass out of this formation, and he goes back to that. So McVay's the same way. McVay did fall a little bit in love with 11 personnel back in that 2018 season, but he's learned to evolve a little bit better. He's gone a little bit more to 12 personnel more than he definitely did in 2018. He ran 11 personnel more than any other coach in the league that year. But he's starting to recognize that he wants to move more to 12 personnel. Love McVay for that. I think because of that, I would think the Rams and the 49ers are the best 2 teams in that division. But like we talked about, the Rams' depth, their losses of Brandon Staley, John Johnson, a few other players worries me a little. But I think they'll be there. As long as, Stafford stays healthy, I think they'll be there.
Perfect. Let's move on.
And I think Stafford is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league that doesn't get talked about enough, for sure.
Yeah, facts. Cool. Let's move on to the AFC. Any sleepers, any sneaky teams out there that you like, making some noise this season?
Yeah, I don't want to sound like a homer or anything like that. Or obviously, I know you're a Chargers fan, but the only thing is they're hard to sleep on just because everybody is hyping up Herbert. I have heard a lot of Herbert for MVP talk, and rightfully so. Right. I think the kid played outstanding last year behind a very poor offensive line, as we know, very poor. Not to be disrespectful or anything, but play calling as well. I would say subpar head coaching. We saw some very questionable decisions by Anthony Lynn last year, and in ways that it didn't work out. I mean, Chargers were up there with the Falcons and just finding the most creative ways to lose ball games.
Both of them.
Both teams were just like, it was really unbelievable, to be honest with you, when you think about the Chargers and the Falcons and the way they lost games last year. But, man, rebuild offensive line. Joe Lombardi comes in from the Saints, hopefully running that Sean Payton system. I pray that he took down as many notes and stole as much as he could from Sean Payton, because you know what? If you run Keenan Allen as the Michael Thomas and Eckler as the Alvin Kamara, I mean, that is going to be a scary, scary offense, because in this time in their careers, I mean, and I would say at any point in their careers, I'm sorry to say this, Justin Herbert is supremely more talented than Drew Brees. I am Sorry if I offend anybody in that regard. Drew Brees is a surefire Hall of Famer. I've been watching him since Purdue. Great guy, man of faith, man, a family man. Even though he was in my division, I can't stand the Saints, but I have highly respect Drew Brees. Justin Herbert is just way more talented than Drew Brees ever was. Yeah. I'm sorry. There's no question about it. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, he's an insanely smart kid. We know that. So at this point, the Chargers' upside on offense is just immense. It really is. And if Brandon Staley can get that defense playing even halfway, 15th in the league or anything like that, my goodness, you have a chance. But we also know we don't want to get too superstitious here. We're just a little stitious. The Chargers were the team that were number one in offense and number one in defense in 2010 and still missed the playoffs. So hopefully none of that follows them over here. But I'm all, not to follow mainstream media, but I'm all on the Herbert hype train. No question. I like the kid. I like the kid coming out of Oregon, and he proved us right last year. And the only other thing I'm worried about a little bit is regression. And just because he played so well last year, just to have him repeat that, like how good he was under pressure, how great he was in downfield accuracy and big play touchdowns. Can he repeat that? Let me tell you, in the NFL, it's not easy.
Of course.
It's not easy. But, hey, he gets Eckler hopefully for a full season, a better offensive line. I'm hoping a better play caller, better head coach, teaching principles and concepts. I think the Chargers are a team to watch out for.
Yeah, most definitely. And I hear that all the time. I heard in mainstream media that he's going to regress. He's going to regress. It's really hard for a second-year quarterback, to repeat. They got film on you. I also heard that there's going to be fans, right? That's another factor too. Like last year, there was absolutely no fans in all these away games, but now that, we got fans in the stands already, like how is that going to, how is he going to be communicating with that team, with that offensive line? And then you hear the talks of him being an introvert and not the loudest guy in a team, right? And a lot of people call, BS on that because, there's so many ways to lead, not just by being a loud mouth, right? You lead with your actions too. And I think, that's what Herbert's been doing. But, it's just, in a loud stadium, really loud. So how loud can Justin Herbert get, to communicate with that offensive line or for the players to actually hear, the audibles and the hot routes and whatever he's trying to get, the protection, and all that, calling out the, certain linebackers, certain blitzes, that's going to be something that, at least for me, like, even though I hear it in mainstream media that he's going to regress, I don't think he'll regress. It's definitely a high bar, 31 touchdowns and, 10 interceptions. And I think he had like another 5 or 6 rushing touchdowns on top of that, on top of his passing. So can he do it again? I think he can. I really do. I'm a little, me being a Herbert and a Charger fan, I'm all in on him. I really am. And I think he's a beast and, but I do, I'm a realistic person too. Like all those things that I just mentioned, we have to see how he's going to, he's going to be a year one QB and all of those things that I just mentioned, playing in the NFL, with the crowd, being able to read these defenses, I'm sure he's a smart kid, biology major, and just because, I say he's a biology major doesn't mean it translates over to the playbook, but, he does have the discipline, to do his homework, to study, to ask all these questions, to, now retired Drew Brees, he's been at camp this whole time. So, I think that's the only thing that worries me a bit, and not too much on the play calling and the playbook because when he came in as a rookie, that's exactly what he did too. He had to learn a new system, a new playbook, and he was smart enough to pick a lot of that stuff up. Granted, they made it, I'm sure they made it really simple for him. They didn't want to make it too complicated. I'm sure there was a lot of one reads, right? Hey, this is your one, and go for it. If anything, there might have been a second and a third, but for the most part, he was hitting those first reads most of the time. But like I said, he's a smart kid, and I think that he's going to pick up that offense quick. But yeah, that's mainly it. I mean, it's nothing crazy, nothing too major, but I'm rooting for the kid, and I think we can make some noise. The new offensive line is huge too. Even though some of the things that he did under pressure were just amazing. It's almost like, man, maybe he should be under pressure more often, right? Because he just makes these ridiculous plays. He just plays with so much instinct and but yeah, I'm excited to see what he would look like with the full protection. If he can dissect the defense and like I said again, I'm sure he can. He's a smart kid, and I'm rooting for Herbie. I got him in my fantasy team as well. He's so I'm hyped about Justin Herbert. The weapons for the most part stayed the same. They let go of Tyrell Williams, but we did gain somebody in I went blank. Josh Palmer. Joshua Palmer, right? Or Josh Palmer?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Either way.
Yeah, either way, yeah. And I think he's a really nice piece on offense too, because he's I was listening to Keenan Allen today. He's a real physical, and he runs hard. He runs hard, and he's that type of player, real physical type of wide receiver that can really beat you up. Whether it's in the line of scrimmage, he goes up, he runs it. He'll body you. And I'm not saying he's just a big body receiver like a David Boston. Remember that cat? Just super yoked, and where he just runs up to somebody and just knocks him down. But he plays physical. He definitely does play physical. He has nice route runnings, and everyone's been surprised what he's been bringing to the table as a receiver. So we've kept the offense intact for the most part. Defensively, I think that Nwosu and Fackrell are really going to have to step up on that other side, and not just leave it all on Joey Bosa. I've seen that so many times, with Melvin Ingram losing a lot of games, because of injury, and basically you just Bosa's over there on the left side just trying to do it all on his own, and what do? You just double team Bosa, and even have a running back, a little chip at him, and then you don't have anybody on the other side. So we struggled a lot where we didn't have that other piece on the other side. Will he still get a sacks and apply pressure? Yeah, absolutely. But it's just really crucial for one of those guys to really step up and put some pressure there. I like what we did to our secondary. With Darwin James coming back, it's huge. Having a piece like Darwin James is, my goodness, bro. He's going up against receivers. He's been going up against Keenan Allen the whole training camp, because he wants to be able to, go up against the best route runners, best wide receivers in the game, and in Keenan, he was basically, he won a lot of matchups, and so did Keenan. But, I think, like we all say, iron sharpens iron, right? And, but he's also facing up against, Kittle, and he won some matchups too, just like Kittle did too. So, man, having a piece like Derwin James everywhere on the field, he's a quarterback back there. He's calling the plays this year. So Brandon Staley has him calling the plays because he's going to be everywhere. You don't know if he's going to blitz you. You don't know if he's going to, he's going to do what I do in Madden. What do I do in Madden, Julio?
Yeah, don't get me started on that. My man engages with a lineman and somehow drops back 15 yards into coverage. Yeah, I don't know. It's okay though. It's all right though.
Hey, but if anyone was gonna do that, it's Darwin James, and you know that, bro. He's just a freak of an athlete, bro. He's lengthy, he's quick, you know, and physical as well. So, Asante Samuel Jr., great pickup, great pickup, man. Everything I've seen from him in training camp is, man, that dude looks like a real, shut down corner, bro. Honestly. Obviously he's a rookie and he's.
You're buying into the Asante hype now? Because I know you didn't like him coming out of the draft.
Yeah, I mean the only reason why I didn't like is it's more because I had my eyes on other players, but he can still ball. No shade at Asante, and I did say, I don't like the pick, but not because I don't think that he can ball. It's more that, hey, you know what? I had other, I was hoping they went a little bit more on the interior and the front seven, whether it was on a defensive tackle, just a big mauler, whether it was a pass rusher, that's where I had my eyes on more than anything. So when they went Asante, I was just like, I was like, all right, I was a little bummed because I thought they'd go and build this front seven like the Rams, now we do have Linval Joseph, but Linval ain't no Aaron Donald, or Tillery, Aaron Donald. But I thought maybe if we can get a piece or two down there and really solidify that, front seven. Like when we talk about the Washington football team, what do we think? Like nasty front four, right? Those guys are pretty nasty up front, or the Niners and stuff like that. But like when you say, hey, do the Chargers have a scary, front four? I mean, for me, at least in my opinion, me being a Charger fan, I don't really think, or if I take off my Charger hat, I don't really get scared at, or say, hey, you know what, like Chargers front four is pretty nasty, or those are some scary dudes up there. Like, I don't know. You being an Atlanta fan, like when somebody tells you, hey, how's the Chargers front four? Is it like, do you see like, is it like a nasty squad to you? Or do you think that they can?
No, I mean, I get where you're coming from, for sure. I definitely see where you're coming from. I think, what Brandon Staley did with the Rams says a lot, and also what he did with the Bears. Obviously, they had a little bit more talent, but, really in reality, Brandon Staley just did what he did with Aaron Donald and let's say Jalen Ramsey, and everybody else is just matched up and, moved around. And so that's what I see with you guys. Cause like, Gus Bradley had Melvin Ingram, like you said before, Joey Bosa over there on the left, right? Which means Melvin Ingram on the right. And it was basically cover 3, cover 1, and you know what was coming, and you knew where Bosa was going to line up.
Right.
So if you wanted to double team him, you wanted to chip him, you know where to put your running back, you know where to slide your protection. And so Staley's not going to give the offense that opportunity. And so what he's going to do is he's going to move Bosa all over the place. He's going to move Derwin all over the place. They're going to be his little chess pieces. And so he's not going to you're not going to be able, as a quarterback / a lineman, you're not going to be able to key in on those guys. You know what I mean? And so at that point, I think that's what helps out, because it's like, all right, well, you're not going to know where I'm going to line up every play. And I'm going to send people from everywhere, and I'm going to teach my entire defense concepts so that they're not just worried about their job, but they know that everybody's job on the particular defense, which means like, all right, well, if I know what this guy's supposed to do and I know what this guy's supposed to do, I know what I can get away with here.
Right.
Right. And that's why he teaches concepts, because it's just not like, all right, you don't have to go out there thinking, let me do my job, let me do my job, let me do my job, let me do my job. And you're overthinking it. You're more saying, all right, well, if I know what everybody else is going to do, then I can kind of freelance a little bit in my area. I can take a chance. I can do whatever. If, is there going to be growing pains and there's going to be blown coverages? Of course, it's going to happen. But if it gets to the point, like we talked about, where you're creating a high amount of turnovers and you're causing quarterback confusion, hey, if the quarterback just holds that ball for just a little bit longer, how many times did you see? And look, I'm going to tell you something. Atlanta doesn't have the most talented defense. The Chargers maybe don't have the most talented defense. But I know for a fact, because I've watched every single game of both of those teams the last few years, ever since I moved to San Diego. One thing I could tell you is that even in that cover 1, cover 3 defense, there is so many times where you see the defense just miss the quarterback. I mean,
That is
Just
true.
missed them.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I'm talking about like super high on pressures, and I can tell you just by the stats in PFF or any stats that you go by, those teams are really up there in pressures. The biggest thing is they just don't finish, right? You don't see the high sack numbers, but the pressures are up there. Well, why is that? Because in the cover 1, cover 3 offense, what you're doing is you're giving them the underneath stuff, right? And you're taking away the deep stuff, and you're making your team tackle. Well, if you have the best tackling team in the league, which let's say the Seahawks did for years with Bobby Wagner and Cam Chancellor and Earl Thomas, and all those guys, well, yeah, it's going to work out. But obviously, if you don't have the best tackling team in the league, well, that little dump off to the running back or to the tight end in the flat or to a little slot receiver, all of a sudden, a little 3-4 yard dump off becomes a 10, 15-yard gain. And so that quarterback who was just almost sacked, just little dump off, 10 first down. And so now, hopefully with Dean Pease for the Falcons and Brandon Staley for the Chargers, you'll see the little bit more confusion where the quarterback has to hold on to that ball just a little bit longer. And hopefully it'll create either turnovers, interceptions, if, to the ball thrown late or tip pass or anything like that, or sacks. And that's what I'm hoping for, and I think will happen with those teams. So that's why I do have, high hopes, so to speak, and buying into the hype, because I'm like, you know what, as long as after what I've seen the last few years under those, Gus Bradley and Dan Quinn for our respective teams, I think that they can cause a little havoc now this year with the little bit of confusion where the quarterback doesn't know exactly what's going to happen.
Right. Another sleeper team in the AFC that really comes out to you.
I would say, are they sleepers anymore?
Right. I was just going to ask you that. Like,
are they sleepers anymore? You got it.
Steelers, no?
You got to think of the Cleveland Browns and their, that loaded roster. That Cleveland. You got talking about a top 5 offensive line in the league. You got talking about 2, number 1 running backs. You're talking about Odell and Landry. You're talking about 3 major tight ends and Austin Hooper, David Njoku, and Harrison Bryant. I think the only question mark I have for the Browns right now is with all the pieces that they added on defense in the offseason, will they be able to put it together? Obviously defense takes a lot of communication to get on the same page and audibling and getting into the right spots. That I think there'll be some growing pains there. But I tell you what, if Cleveland just plays to their strength, even if Odell's in there, use Odell for those deep shots when you need to, but just do what you did last year when Odell got hurt. Control the line of scrimmage, control the clock with Chubb, Hunt, that offensive line, and play action off of that. And I'm telling you, you're just going to get chunk plays from those receivers and those tight ends.
Yeah,
and
these will be
you'll be able to. Yeah, man. You give that defense rest. Let it sit on the sidelines. Controlling the clock until they can pin their ears back. And Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, Tack McKinley, Malik Jackson, Andrew Billings, and them boys. I tell you what, they can wreak havoc and they can cause problems for offenses for sure. I think the Browns, obviously, they're a little bit more hyped this year because of all those additions. So I don't know if I can necessarily call them a sleeper, but in a division with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens, I think you still have to call them an underrated team. So I think that the Browns are my other team that have to sneak in there.
Yeah, until they can prove themselves for sure.
For sure.
Then you got teams like the Dolphins too, that are sneaky, bro. Sneaky talented.
Yeah, roster-wise, absolutely. And well coached. Brian Flores and what he's doing with that team, absolutely. I have my reservations about Tua. I'm super sorry for those that disagree with me. I do have my reservations about Tua. Not that he can't play the position, not that he's not surgical and accurate. Obviously, yes, he is. I'm not denying that from the kid. My biggest gripe with him is if they take away the short stuff, can he come through?
Stretch the field, yeah.
And in order for that to happen, for instance, Drew Brees made a living with the short and intermediate stuff, but he had a top 5 offensive line. And he had a wide receiver that, as much as I can't stand him, he can catch the short stuff, and he has very good hands in Michael Thomas. They gave Tua a lot of fast weapons. He's got Will Fuller. He's got Jalen Waddle. He's got Albert Wilson. He's got Shaquem Grant. Yes, he has Devontae Parker, who hopefully is that possession receiver if he stays healthy. But my biggest thing is, if teams take away the short stuff, can Tua make him pay with the deep stuff? If Will Fuller and Jalen Waddle hit him with the double move, can Tua hit him deep? And obviously, I'm not saying he can. He did it in Alabama, but obviously in Alabama, just like we saw this weekend, has been the same thing for ever since Nick Saban took over. They're dominating college football, and there's not a team even close to their talent every year. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? So at that point, Tua, yeah, you're going to have to prove it to me. And I'll be more than happy to sit up here. I got cousins that are Dolphins fans that are from Florida. So I'll be happy to say Tua proved me wrong. Hey, I have nothing against the kid. One of my favorite moments, look, I was rooting for Georgia big time in that national championship game. The kid came out and gave all the credit to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So that to me, that was one of the best moments in football history that I saw. Not the only person who ever's done that, but in that stage, in that moment, how he came in at halftime, being down 20-0 after they had to pull Jalen Hurts, and he brought the team back. That was amazing. And anytime Jesus is gonna get the glory of my book, I'm all for it. At the end of the day, in the NFL, he's got to prove it. So, like I said, I'll be more than happy when he proves me wrong. But until then, going against Bill Belichick, twice a year, Josh Allen, best quarterback in that division, also the oldest quarterback in that division. Crazy enough to say, going into his fourth year, Mac Jones in New England, Tua in Miami, and obviously I'm a big fan of Zach Wilson in New York. I love Zach Wilson coming out. I hope.
Sleeper, or not yet?
No, the team itself, no.
Not yet.
No, especially in that division with those defenses and Josh Allen. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the Jets are going to stay in last place for now, but I think Zach Wilson is going to make that team exciting. He's one of those quarterbacks that I'm a little nervous for, not because of his talent, but because of the situation he landed in. Mm-hmm. Because of that situation, I'm a little nervous. I'm rooting for the Jets, low-key. But they already lost Carl Lawson in the offseason. Super upset about that. Mm-hmm. Their secondary, their quarterbacks leave a lot to be desired. I'm hoping Robert Saleh could do some special things with that defense. I'm really rooting for the Jets. Really love Zach Wilson. But unfortunately, with the talent in those other teams, Dolphins just added talent, Patriots added talent, and obviously the Bills did too. I can't see the Jets coming up yet, but I really do love me some Zach Wilson.
All right. How about the South, man? That one's a little interesting, with the Colts, Titans,
And that's it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but what are we getting from Carson Wentz? Are they that sneaky team, or are they really gonna, are we gonna see a vintage Carson Wentz? Are we we're gonna see him, light it up, or we're gonna see the same old Wentz?
I was looking forward. I don't know. That 2017 Wentz is pretty special. Mm-hmm. I would say for sure, Colts are one of those teams I secretly root for as well. I like Wentz. I like Frank Wright. Obviously, Quentin Nelson is just fun to watch. I mean, what offensive lineman is more fun to watch than that guy? So I'm rooting for the Colts. Problem is, they started off on the wrong foot. No pun intended. Carson Wentz.
Both. And Quentin.
As eerily the same exact injury.
Yeah, man.
I mean, that is wild. That right there makes me nervous because Carson Wentz came back super early, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. But it is a talented roster that Chris Ballard and Frank Wright have put together up there in Indianapolis. But man, I hate to say it. I mean, yeah, you got you want to see Julio Jones and Taylor Lewan stay healthy, but if they do, my goodness, that Tennessee offense. Yeah, they lost Arthur Smith. Todd Downing takes over as offensive coordinator. But could you imagine defending an offense with A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, and Derrick Henry? and Taylor Lewan, who's just a beast of all. I love Taylor Lewan coming out of Michigan. My goodness, that team, talking about just probably the most physically dominant and talented teams, players at their respective positions. You know, you could say, oh, best route runner is this guy. You know, best running back, all around running back is this guy. You know, for instance, like you could say Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey. You know, you could say Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, Keenan Allen, best wide receivers. You know, obviously you could say that. You know, you could say best tacticians, David Bakhtiari, Terrell Armstead at left tackle. But when you talk about just physically imposing players at their positions, when I think of just all around raw talent and just God-given just mass and ability, I mean, I can't think of players like Taylor Lewan, Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, Julio Jones. And you know what? I wouldn't even go as far as Ryan Tannehill. Because when it comes to just pure athletic ability and talent, Tannehill has it. And so those are 5 players that I could, when it comes to just, like I said, talent, God-given ability, size, I can't name players just more talented than that, and they have it. I would love to see them stay healthy. Obviously, seeing Julio Jones with another team hurts. It's literally, I could say it's literally like talking about your ex moving on with a better guy. It's just what it feels like. You know what I mean? And so it's not fun to talk about. I love Julio Jones. Those years he had with Atlanta were special. The plays he had with Atlanta, those 300-yard, 250-yard games. No player in NFL history has more than one 250-yard receiving game, but Julio Jones. He has 3, by the way. And so when those games come, they're extremely fun for an Atlanta fan. They're going to be fun for those Tennessee fans. And what he's going to do for Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown, it's going to be fun. Or Anthony Ferkser, if you want to do that, go there. I mean, Todd Downing has his weapons to play with. Hopefully he can scheme it up for them. That team is scary. I got to go with Tennessee in first place in the AFC South.
Yo, speaking of those monster games that Julio had, we were talking about this, a couple of weeks back. Those games could have been a lot, those yards could have been a lot more, if it wasn't for Matt.
Is this a Matt Ryan bashing here? You know what? I would agree with you, not to bash Matt Ryan here. I could definitely agree with you. Matt Ryan does not have the arm strength of a Ryan Tannehill. But I would also say not always did Matt Ryan have the protection either. So
that's true.
You're talking about plays where he's about to get smacked in the face. You're talking about plays where, some of them he had to roll out. One of the most incredible Julio Jones play was when he mossed Luke Kuechly. On that play, Matt Ryan had to roll out to the left and then throw it deep. So, it was an incredible play by Julio Jones, but one that we kind of don't give Matt Ryan enough credit for either. And so I would say he's going to a better situation in Tennessee with obviously the running game, A.J. Brown, better offensive line, and a better strong, I would say stronger armed quarterback. But I wouldn't take too much away from Matty Ice. There were also plays where Matty Ice put it on him. And just to be honest with you, Julio dropped him. Julio, coming off the field on third down, wasn't practicing like he used to. Obviously, due to injury, he's getting up there in age as well, 31 years old. But there was a lot of that too. And so, I wouldn't put it all on Matt. Let's put it that way.
For sure. All right, so we gave our predictions for the South. The Titans take that division. All right, let's go with the West. I think the Chargers are going to take the division. The Chiefs are just right now. It's still too powerful. They're loaded on offense, and that's scary, always. So I still think they take the division.
The Chiefs.
The Chiefs. Yep.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, I would say so too. I'm a little nervous.
My Chargers take it. But
I'm a little nervous about the Chiefs' depth, honestly. Just looking at their linebackers, I mean, unless the young kids step up, Willie Gay, rookie Nick Bolton, Those guys make me a little nervous, but Steve Spagnuolo can scheme up, even if it's a 4-3 defense. He can scheme up, and you know what's great about Steve Spagnuolo is that he's also like a little bit like Bruce Arians, no risk it, no biscuit. You know, he's gonna blitz, he's gonna make the quarterback get rid of the ball quickly, and he says, "Look, if I give up a big touchdown, that's fine. You know why? Because I'm giving the ball right back to my star quarterback and that offense." And so it's like, all right, well, you want to roll in the shootout? Let's roll in the shootout. But one thing that's not going to happen, he's not going to keep Patrick Mahomes sitting on the sideline for long periods of time, waiting for people to dink and dunk his defense to death. That's not Spagnuolo's game.
You know, at this point, just get after it.
Bro, get after it. That's it. All right, you scored a touchdown on me? Fine. But you know what? You're giving the ball back to my offense and Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jet McKinnon, all those boys, and Andy Reid's play calling. So at that point, they play very good complementary football in that sense. No question. Then you have another team that plays really good complementary football in the other sense. Can Teddy Bridgewater and that loaded Broncos offense? Let's be real. Broncos got a darn good offense, and then they got a good defense. That secondary is ridiculous. I mean, you're talking about deep offenses. That defense is pretty deep. If Von Miller could come back healthy, Bradley Chubb, and then that secondary, I tell you what, another team that could play strong complementary football is the Denver Broncos. Hand that ball off to Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon, and have Teddy play action off it to Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, KJ Hamler, Noah Fant, Albert O. My goodness. I mean, that's a loaded team. They're a quarterback away, man. I mean, whew. If it wasn't for I tell you what, if it probably wasn't for Matt Ryan's salary cap hit, I mean, that's a team that I would say either, obviously they probably call for Aaron Rodgers, no question.
Right.
Super surprised it ain't going
probably happening, Fields. Bro. It's probably happening, honestly. If they've already entertained it, the rumors are out there.
I mean, I don't think it's going to happen at this point, unless there's an injury,
No, not this year. After the last dance.
2022.
Yeah, they can get a couple more years out of Rodgers with the Broncos and that. Also, another team, not to get off topic too much, but I was talking with a coworker of mine. Man, where would you like to see Rodgers? And we brought up I brought up a team like the Giants, and he's like, you know what? That's interesting, bro. But you know what? I kind of like that. An Aaron Rodgers with the New York Giants. What do you think?
Super Bowl contender. No, absolutely. Biggest thing is if it comes down to a trade, will they trade him to a team in the NFC?
Right.
That's number one. But if it's something where they're going to allow him to release him from his contract, absolutely. I mean, my goodness, you put Aaron Rodgers with those weapons and because the Giants haven't been shy about putting weapons around Daniel Jones. You got Saquon Barkley. Like I said, we talked about before, Kadarius Toney, Kenny Galladay, Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard. I mean, my goodness, you put Aaron Rodgers behind. I mean, the offensive line is the greatest, but you know what? You could work at that next year. If you pick up Aaron Rodgers in the free agency and then you can build that offensive line, let me tell you, Giants could be there. There's no question about that. That would be a very interesting team for him to go to. I don't know how he'll look in the blue and gray. That'd be kind of weird. But yeah, at the same time, that'd be dangerous. Absolutely. That's a good point, bro. Definitely agree with you there.
Yeah. So cool. So let's move on to AFC East. Who's taking that? The
Buffalo.
Bills. Buffalo, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I can't see one of these younger quarterbacks overtaking our boy Blue. Josh Allen, possible, if not 2021 MVP.
Very nice. AFC, what we got? North. AFC North. That one's tough, man. That one's really tough.
It is because I'm thinking about Baltimore with that secondary, the return of Ronnie Stanley. Two big injuries at running back though. Justice Hill and J.K. Dobbins are gone, but they already picked up Le'Veon Bell to the practice squad. I'm thinking maybe Latavius Murray might go there as well. I'm a little nervous about their pass rush. but somehow, Wayne Martindale schemes up the pressure with that secondary. Oh man, am I brave enough to go Cleveland in first place? Oh man.
Yeah, it's how about the Steelers, man?
I'm a little worried about the Steelers' offensive line and Big Ben's health. Remember they lost David DeCastro, Andrew Villanueva, Pouncey retired. They picked up Kendrick Green and Kevin Dotson was a great pickup in last year's draft, late round pickup, who played great. But man, you're talking about a lot of moving pieces in that offensive line. All pros, Pro Bowlers gone. Man, that scares me. And last year they had no running game because of that. I'm a little nervous about Pittsburgh. I could definitely see Pittsburgh finishing third in that division, maybe grabbing a wild card spot, but I could for sure see them finishing third. They're a world coach. I'm a Tomlin fan. I know there's Steelers fans out there that don't like Tomlin, but I'm personally a Mike Tomlin fan. He usually gets that team ready to play one way or another. I mean, you got to think, even though they were, they really slumped at the end of last year, they started off 12-0, right? 11-0, 12-0.
11-0.
That's no joke. That's not easy. And obviously you still got weapons at wide receiver. Chase Claypool, I'm a big believer in. I called it last year coming out of the draft. Deontay Johnson, Juju, Najee Harris. They definitely had the skill position players. I'm really concerned about that offensive line. How about you?
Yeah, like you said, Mike Tomlin, I think we'll put something together up there that'll make it work. To win the division, I don't think so. Like I said, when I asked you about the AFC North, I was like, man, that one's tough because even I don't know if I'm ready to crown the Browns. I don't know if I'm ready to crown the Browns. Are they loaded? Are they, yeah, I love everything about Nick Chubb. He's on my fantasy team as well. And he was last year too. But, also what kind of Baker are we getting too, Is Baker taking that next step this year, or is he still going to be that complimentary quarterback, that does a bootleg, on the play action and just hit these receivers that are wide open because of the run game, that a good run game will do that. You'll get dudes wide open, fake all these linebackers and defenders out. So yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to crown them. The Steelers, I like what they have on defense, with Devin Bush coming back from that injury. And Fitzpatrick?
Minka.
Yeah, Minka. Sorry. Yeah, he's a stud back there, bro. Very underrated. Not talked a lot about. And obviously TJ Watt. They got some nice pieces out on defense that will, I think, and at one point, because I remember having the Steelers defense, in fantasy football. I play fantasy football every year, but I remember having them and just watching them on defense last year, and they were just really, really special. They were actually putting up a lot of points defensively too. So I think that will complement, that offense, and I want to say I'll go as far as even carrying that team. Really,
for years that's what the Steelers were known for, right?
That's I think defensively and then just the offense would complement the defense. That's the other way around, right? It was just heavy on the defense, on the turnover, on the scoring. If you can get some nice touchdowns on the offense, great. But for the most part, it's that defense. But shoot, man, that one's tough, bro. That one is really tough.
I'm gonna be bold. I'm gonna say Cleveland. I'm gonna say Cleveland.
Here?
I'm gonna say Cleveland 1, Baltimore 2, and then Pittsburgh 3rd. And Cincinnati's gonna improve, but unfortunately, they're still gonna be in last place.
Yeah, I'll take the Ravens here. I'll take the Ravens, the Browns, and the Steelers. Why? I still believe Lamar Jackson is playing with a chip on his shoulder, right? Every single year he gets criticized about something, right? Every single year. Yo, can he take the next step, right? Is he a true passer, right? He only runs, right? There's just so many criticism, and he always has a chip on his shoulder, you know? So I don't know, man. You just can't rule that guy out, dude. Is he the better quarterback in that division? I really think he is. You know, he's athletically gifted. He can make those passes. I know he got some upgrades at receiver as well. Even though there's a couple injuries at receiver as well, but I'm excited to see what he can do with those weapons now. You know, now that he has a couple weapons, and when they get back from, you know, when they're healthy, you know, what kind of Lamar we're gonna get. You know, I think the whole, you know, the past couple of years, it's been like, oh, he doesn't have any weapons, and look what they've been doing offensively. You know, with the run game, and you know, so I don't know, man. I like the chip that you know, Lamar Jackson carries with him. You know, that he still has that underdog mentality, and you just can't rule that out, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, and Jim Harbaugh, the same thing. He's one of those. I mean, not Jim. Excuse me, John.
John.
He's one of those coaches that always gets his team ready to play, no question. So yeah, I definitely think the Ravens are a playoff team. But I'm kind of rooting for Cleveland. I'm going to go with Cleveland taking that division. Now, let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
So we know every year about 5 to 6 teams make the playoffs that didn't make the playoffs the year before. And then there's obviously 5 to 6 teams that don't make it from that did make it the year before.
The year before, right?
Right. So let's go with that. What are your I'll do NFC, you do AFC. What are your AFC teams that will make the playoffs this year that didn't make it last year? Give me like 3. You don't need to make 5 or 6 because we're going to split it up between the AFC and the NFC. And then who are your 3 playoff teams from last year that are not going to make it this year?
Well, for starters, I think that my Chargers will sneak in there.
So who are they replacing?
I think they're going to replace. Damn, that's a tough one. AFC's tough.
You think that, well, let me ask you this. Do you think the Colts are going to make the playoffs?
That one's a toss-up, bro. That one's a toss-up. But if we get Carson Wentz from 2017, bro, it's a wrap. You know that. And
yeah. And let's go down the list real quick, right?
Let's go. Let's do it.
So last year the AFC East was run by the Buffalo Bills, right? The AFC North was run by the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? The AFC South was won by the I want to say the Titans won last year, the AFC South, and then the AFC West was run by the Chiefs, right? Your wild card teams were the Browns, Ravens, and the Colts. Right? So out of those 7 teams, you got the Chargers sneaking in. So who the Chargers replacing?
The Colts, for sure.
Chargers, okay, there you go. All right, so you got the Colts out, the Chargers in. Anybody else you see coming in, or you think those teams that we named are the teams that are going to stay?
I think those are the teams that are going to stay.
Yeah, I don't think
there's anyone. I want to say.
So you're saying the Patriots are out, the Dolphins stay out?
Oh, it's because it's really hard to root against Bill Belichick, man. I know you got Mac Jones, bro, and he's a rookie, man, but we already know he doesn't play like a rookie.
Yeah, I mean, that defense could be back. I mean, the only thing is with Stephon Gilmore out, the secondary is obviously not the same. J.C. Jackson's awesome corner, but obviously having Stephon Gilmore on the other side helps them. The defense is definitely better than it was last year. You got a bunch of players coming back from the COVID-19, plus the additions that they made with Matt Judon, Dante Hightower. All these guys come back. I mean, you got rookies that you drafted, Josh Uche, Chasen Winovich, you're hoping to take the next step. Yeah, I mean, but like you said, when you look at the teams that made it last year, honestly, if I were to say the Patriots were going to make it, and there's a team that's not going to make it, I gotta go with the Steelers are going to be my team out.
Yeah, same here. It would be Steelers for Patriots. Although, again, you can make an argument for the Dolphins, but it's a big if at quarterback. Everything else,
because you gotta hope that the defense doesn't regress, and then you need Tua to take that next step because there's no Fitzpatrick to spell him anymore. I mean, Jacoby Brissett's legit. You know what I mean? But, there was a couple of games last year where they literally took him out mid-game to put Fitzpatrick in there. So you can't have that happen if you're going to be a contender, I think, in the NFL, especially the AFC, that's just loaded with those top-heavy teams from top to bottom. So, yeah, for me, I agree. I think, if anything, if the Patriots do make it, I think they supplant the Pittsburgh Steelers. But honestly, if you were to make me pick right now, I think I am picking the Steelers over the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
All right. How about you, NFC?
So let's go like we did with the AFC, right? Last year, the NFC East winner was the Washington football team. Mm-hmm. The NFC North winner was the Green Bay Packers. The NFC West winner was the Los Angeles Rams, if I'm not mistaken, right? Not the Seahawks. It was the Rams.
Yeah.
And then the NFC South was actually, surprisingly enough, the New Orleans Saints. Tampa Bay made it in as a wild card team.
That is true.
So, and then your wild cards was, like I said, Tampa Bay, Seattle, and
Tampa Bay, Seattle,
and actually the Bears. Bears made it in as an 8-8 team last year. That's pretty easy for me there. I'm gonna say the 49ers. Obviously, they're my NFC West team, so they're gonna come in. I'm taking the Bears out. I don't see Andy Dalton leading that team. So the thing, if Justin Fields comes in, I think he's gonna come in probably mid-season. I don't think he's going to give him enough of the boost to get him into the playoffs. That defense for me, is a little shaky at the cornerback position. Mm-hmm. You got Jalen Johnson coming back, who had a great rookie year. He could probably take the step up, but man, you got Kendall Vador and then Duke Shelley at nickel as of right now. As we release this podcast, I don't think the Bears make it.
You taking the Saints out?
Vikings. Who?
You taking the Saints out? I mean
for me, the Saints are out. Yeah, Saints are out. Tampa Bay is going to be number one in that division. So Saints got a good defense, still strong offensive line. Michael Thomas is out for the first 6-7 weeks of the year. I think Jameis Winston is actually going to surprise some people. I think he's going to do really well. I don't like rooting for the Saints, but I think Winston is going to surprise some people as much as people don't want to see it. Sean Payton, I'm sorry.
Same here.
The guy's he's a mastermind. Great play caller, master motivator. I think the Saints are going to be just fine. But I do think they drop down, probably picking up that last wild card spot. And then the Vikings come in. Vikings take the Bears spot. 49ers take
No, the 49ers took the Bears spot. Well, initially.
Well, they took the division.
Right.
So what we got is basically our three teams are going to be the Rams, the Seahawks, and I think this is a year, just what we talked about. I mean, obviously injuries will play a factor. I don't think there's going to be 5 to 6 teams that missed the playoffs last year and 5 to 6 new teams. I don't see it. I don't see it this year. Nah. Just by the roster construction. Is there teams that can do it? Yeah. I just don't see it happening. Like I said, we're trying to exclude injuries here. I'm not going to sit here, pull out my crystal ball and predict and hope for injuries just to be right.
Right.
So I'm not going to do that. So in this case, I'm just going to go with the 49ers. Didn't make it last year. They're going to make it this year. I think we talked about the Cowboys. Cowboys are going to supplant them, the Washington football team. I don't think the NFC East is going to be as bad as last year. So we got Cowboys, Niners. We still have the Packers making it. So they're going to take out the Washington football team and the Chicago Bears. So that's 2. You added 1, maybe 2. So, yeah, right now we got about 3 to 4 teams that we think are not going to make the playoffs this year that made it last year, and 3 to 4 new teams we got. Obviously, I hope for more. Hey, hopefully the Falcons do it. I don't see it happening right now, but hopefully, I don't want to endure another, one way or another. Even if the Falcons make the playoffs, they have a way of giving us heartbreak. Look what they did in the Super Bowl in 2016 and 17.
Yeah. Man, those are, man, I'm excited, bro. I'm really excited. This
real quick.
This year's
Dark horse. What's well, let's obviously dark horse MVP is probably what? Justin Herbert.
For me, Justin Herbert for sure.
Who would you? I mean, that's definitely a great dark horse MVP. Yeah, I think same with me. That's a dark horse MVP. Who you got for MVP? Who you think is actually going to win it?
I think it's Aaron Rodgers.
You think he's going to do it again? Last dance?
Do it again. Last dance. Go all out. Leave it for the city of Green Bay. Here you go. If we don't win a chip, at the very least, I'm gonna give everything I got. So I think he repeats, but
just for the sake of our
your pick for Josh Allen, I like that too.
Yeah, I think Josh Allen is probably going to be mine. Like I said, just for the sake of the title of our podcast, which is 2-point stance, basically meaning we're not supposed to agree with each other that much.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with Josh Allen for sure as my MVP candidate. What about offensive rookie of the year?
I'm gonna take Zach Wilson here. I think he. I think he gets close to that rookie record. Honestly, he's special, man. He's special on offense, and he has a talented arm. And I've seen enough. Honestly, I've seen enough for him to make his case. Definitely.
Yeah, I think he's looked like the best quarterback so far. Obviously, we're talking about preseason and training camp, so we don't know. But he's definitely taken the live bullets in preseason. He's looked the best so far to me, no question. I would like for it to be Kyle Pitts, obviously, but because we know that usually the quarterbacks get that kind of hardware, I'm gonna go with Zach Wilson's my pick too. I don't think, but just for the sake of the argument, I'm gonna go with Trey Lance.
Trey Lance.
I'm gonna say Trey Lance is in the best position. I mean, it's gonna be hard for him,
no doubt,
because he's not gonna get as many snaps, but just in the best position with team, play caller, all of that. Trey Lance, but like I said, I'm a big Zach Wilson fan. I loved him. He was my favorite quarterback coming out of this draft. So I'll go with that. But I'm gonna go, just like I said, sake of argument, I'm going Kyle Pitts. You go Zach Wilson. I know it's gonna be an uphill battle for Pitts, but we'll go with that. How about your defensive player of the year and your defensive rookie of the year?
Defensive player of the year. And I hate to be biased, bro. I really like what I guess a good story would be for Darwin James to just come out and light up the league, and just, he's been dying to play a full season and just, prove I mean, there's not much doubters, because, if you know football, he can ball, but, that'd be a great story, Hey, the criticism you get from Darwin James is what? He can't stay healthy, right? He can't stay healthy, but and it was a tough off season for him. He was coming in strong. He was going up against Keenan Allen also last year, and his that injury was just a big blow to him. So I like those. I like the stories. If he can bounce back and have one of those seasons where he just wrecks havoc, whether it's on, he gets some sacks, interceptions, just leads the whole defense, like just a quarterback back there, and just looks extra special. I'm going to go with Darwin James, but,
What kind of numbers do you think he has to put up? Give me because obviously we know that defensive player of the year, they're always going to go by those sacks, those interceptions, those forced fumbles. They're always usually going to go with that. What kind of numbers does a safety, let's say hybrid linebacker like Darwin James, needs to put up in order to win Defensive Player of the Year?
I would say at least 10 interceptions, at least double digits interceptions, whether it's 10 or, or more, that'll be, that'll be
Let me
really
give you,
impressive.
can I give you a stat line and you think it's enough?
All right. Bring it.
Ready?
Yeah.
All right. How about 110 tackles?
Okay. Doable.
Right?
Yeah.
9 to 12 tackles for loss.
Okay.
7 sacks.
Okay.
5 interceptions. 4 forced fumbles. 2 returns for touchdowns, fumble and pick 6. Is that enough in today's day and age?
That's very impressive. But like you said, but if you get a quarterback, if you get freaking Aaron Rodgers dropping, not Aaron Rodgers, we're talking about defensive MVP, right? You get Aaron Donald with another 20 sacks.
That's exactly my point. Like,
it's just like saying, like, how do you
let's say Darwin James does put a stat line up like that, like, and Aaron Donald gets 19 sacks. Chandler Jones next to JJ Watt gets 18 sacks.
Another 18 and a half sacks.
Yeah, like, and number one, Chandler Jones have gotten 19 sacks before and not won Defensive Player of the Year.
Mm-hmm. Underrated.
Let's be real there. Alden Smith kind of did something similar too and didn't get Defensive Player of the Year. So at this point, I would love to see Darwin James get it, because that would just mean he's everywhere. In order for Darwin James to get Defensive Player of the Year, it means he was at deep safety. He was playing linebacker. He came off the edge. He did it all. Which would be insanely fun to see.
Yeah. But
yeah, man, Aaron Donald at this point, Aaron Donald has been a write-in though. I'm not gonna go with Aaron Donald though. I'm gonna go with.
Well, that's the basic. That's why I said, you know what, that'd be a nice story. That'd be a nice story, not just because I'm a Charger fan. That'll be dope to see. How many times do we see a safety put up numbers like that or a performance like that, right? But yeah, the obvious pick would be, Aaron Donald. Why? Because you just don't see the guy regress. If anything, he's just getting better because he's playing smarter now. He's playing smarter as opposed to, he can still wreak havoc, but
he's just so explosive. He can get skinny and get between.
I don't see him slowing down. I don't see it, and I haven't seen him slow down.
The only thing I'm waiting from Aaron Donald, and honestly, if this happens, he's gonna win Defensive Player of the Year. I'm literally waiting for him to take the handoff from the quarterback. Like, legit. Like, he's been so close. He's been so close. That's what I'm waiting for. Is one of these games, he's literally gonna take the handoff at the mesh point between the quarterback and the running back and just take it to the house from right there. And at that point, you could write it in. He's gonna win Defensive Player of the Year. But I'm gonna go with a little dark horse Defensive Player of the Year, kind of. I'm gonna go Myles Garrett. I want to see Myles Garrett take over a game like Aaron Donald does, and I would like to see that. And so you got Darwin James. I'm gonna go Myles Garrett just to be different and not to maintain the status quo.
Another great story would be Nick Bosa too, coming back from ACL injury and having a monster season. That's another good one too.
Absolutely.
So many studs out there, bro.
And the last one, Defensive Rookie of the Year. That's hard. There's so many different factors. Is it a pass rusher? You think Jalen Phillips, Kwity Paye takes it? Is it going to be a corner that comes up with 6 to 7 interceptions?
Patrick Surtain, he looks special, bro.
Is it Micah Parsons? See, Micah Parsons for me has the advantage because he plays for the Cowboys. He's gonna have the lights on him. He's gonna have the camera on him. You know what I mean? We already seen him in Hard Knocks. We already know what he's doing in Hard Knocks. And obviously you have the spotlight of the Cowboys. So for Parsons, it can be an easy shoo-in. But is there someone that could supplant him there off the top of my head? I would like to see Jalen Phillips do well, for sure. No question.
For sure.
What happens if Asante Samuel takes 7 interceptions?
That too.
Can he win it?
Patrick Surtain as well. He looked nice, bro. That dude looks like a vet, bro.
Surtain did it his first preseason, first NFL game, even though it was preseason, he took a pick 6 to the house. And he's got the pass rush to help him out in that scenario.
I want stuff.
I'm not gonna go with Surtain. I'm not gonna go with Surtain just because he has so much talent around him.
Makes sense.
Let me see who else out there that can do it.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be one of these pass rushers, man. Kwity Paye. You know.
I mean, Kwity Payton to play next
Jay.
to DeForest Buckner in that defense. It can happen. It'd be nice to see. I'm gonna go with Jalen Phillips. I think he with that secondary in Miami, I think he gets home a little more and takes home defensive rookie of the year. What about you? You go with Patrick Surtain?
Yeah, I'll go Patrick Surtain for. Yeah, he looks like a stud out there, bro. Like you said, enough pressure will get him those type of interceptions. At least 6 from the Raiders.
There we go.
So I'm excited, bro. Is it Thursday yet? What time is it? It's almost midnight in the West Coast. We got one more day, a day and a half, till we get that Cowboys Bucks.
Let's go. Super excited.
NFL's
back. 2-point stance is back.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I don't know. We got to see when we're going to be next online. I don't know. I am going to be out of town next week. So I don't know if I'll be able to shoot a video next week. But hopefully, if not next week, in 2 weeks, we'll do a little recap of the first 2 weeks of the NFL season. Most likely is what we're going to end up doing. And hopefully, from there on out, we can be able to catch you guys and give you some of that, NFL content that you've been fiending for. You know what I mean? Because just like we have, at least, like Ryan says,
and not just Cowboys, Patriots, Bucks, Chiefs. We're gonna talk about it all.
Yeah, man. I mean, I got Game Pass. I'm ready for that. Hopefully, the NFL Game Pass releases the All 22 back again. I don't know exactly. I'm not 100% sure when they're gonna do that. I'm really disappointed that the All 22 is not there right now.
Oh, dang. Maybe I should wait.
Yeah, but hopefully they'll bring it back so we can give you guys some, not just, we're not guys that watch highlights and then talk football, but guys that really put in the work and we watch the All 22 and like to talk about schemes and standout players that stand out on film, not just on the camera. Take your eye off the ball. If you want to learn football, take your eye off the ball. Watch the trenches. Watch the players moving without the ball. Yeah, watch film, man. It's super important. Pat Kerwin had a book called "Take Your Eye Off the Ball," and I learned a lot from it. I advise you guys to do the same if you really want to be a football fan and see what it's really about.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's 2-point stance out, and we'll see you guys in the next video.
God bless.
God bless.
All right. Bye.